Hi, it's Miss Trees. How are y'all doing? I'm sorry about all this computer problem stuff. I missed y'all yesterday. Um, I finally got the internet guy out here and he fixed everything. So I'm redoing the videos because they're old from yesterday, and so I want to redo them so I can talk to y'all about today and not be outdated. So here's the videos from today and yesterday. Let's talk about your pages that you're supposed to do for yesterday and today. These graphic organizers. The graphic organizers are very simple. There, is that better? They're very simple. All you have to do, let's do this one first. All you have to do is follow the directions. Okay, I'm going to read the directions to you and then we'll go over this together. Okay? Then you don't have to worry about if you know the answer or not. I'll go over it with you, ask you, and then I'll answer the questions for you so we can do this together. And then you don't have to turn this in this week. We'll just wait and start next week on things you actually are supposed to be turning in. Okay? Does that seem fair? I think so. All right. It says describe and understand setting. Setting is what? The place or the time that the story takes place. Where and when. Okay? The setting is where and when a story happens. We just said that, didn't we? Go to the close read notes in the text. Underline details about the settings. Use details you underline to describe the importance of each setting. Okay, so the setting. The town. The town. So we're supposed to do a description of the setting. Description means describe. So we're going to figure out what the setting looks like. Okay, for the boys' room, right here, the boys' room, it says it's night. So when we looked into the boys' room, it was nighttime. That's the when. The boys' room has a bed and a window. So if we flip back in your book to where in the picture where there was a boys' room, when the boy was in his room looking out at the stars, let me find it. That's on page 24, right in the beginning. Right here on page 24. Okay? So they're describing what that looks like. He's looking out the window, and we can tell that it's nighttime. Why? Because it's what? Dark. And you can see, what are those little lights called? Stars. Okay? So then, that's the first setting they're talking about. Okay, go back. Go back to page 42. Then it says, why this setting is important. So why do you think this setting is important? Well, it's at the very beginning of the book, right? So when we're talking about the very beginning of the book, it's really important to set the stage for what's going to be happening in the book. It helps you think and see the story in your mind about when the book is starting or the story is starting. Okay? So, when you first start reading this book and you see a picture of a boy looking out the window and the story starts with how many stars, then you know the boy is probably looking for some stars. And if it says how many, then you probably are going to realize that the boy is going to be counting the stars. Okay? All right. So, why is the setting important? What do you think you should put there? Why was the setting important to look at the boy looking out the window? Why was that important? Think about that to yourself for just a second. What did we just talk about? Let's write that down. So we know, let me get a marker. Pull up my pen. Okay? Important. Y'all see that? Oh, you can't see that. You scoot it up a little bit. Important. Oh, that's going to be backwards. Whoops. Let's see. I can't write backwards. We're just going to have to make do. Let me try to figure that out. I write on a paper, it's going to do everything backwards. Let me just say it to you. Maybe that'll help. Okay. Why is it important? So we know how the story begins. Now, do I want you to worry about spelling? Nah, we won't worry about spelling. Because obviously I can't write it on the board. Too bad. Okay. Now, they're talking about the town. And that's backwards too. The town. So, description of setting. A description of the setting. So let's flip back to when they were in the town. And when they were in the town, they drove into the town. And that's on page 29. On page 29, the town was a suburb. Okay, the town is the suburb. It has some buildings, like schools and libraries. It has maybe a small hospital. It has restaurants. It has like a police station and a fire station, and it has homes. Okay, that's the suburb we were talking about. Not a suburban, but a suburb. Okay, so it says, my dog on page 29. I'm sorry, page 29. My dog hopped in the truck with us and we drove into town. The streets were quiet, but lots of street lights were burning. We could see the bright city skyline in the distance. The city that we're going to talk about in a minute is the urban, remember, with the tall buildings? So right here, whoops, I got to get to the right page. Back on 42, description of the setting. What was it? So in that square, description of the setting for the town, it's got what? Some bright lights. Some bright lights. And what else? Some buildings. So some bright lights. Some buildings. Okay? And it's still nighttime, right? Yes. Now, did he see some stars? Yes, he saw some stars. So, why is the setting important? Go to that box. Why is the setting important? He saw some stars. He saw some stars. That's why it was important. Now, did he see all the stars he wanted to see? Could he see a whole bunch of stars? No. But then they went where? Where'd they go? Third place they went. Where'd they go? To the big, say it with me, city. And the city is the what? The, say it with me, urban area with the big tall buildings. Okay, so let's go to that. Oh, no, they didn't. I didn't read that ahead of time. They're going to the country. So the country, what was that? What was that in the country? What's that called? Does anybody remember? Rural. The rural area. Okay, the rural area. Now, what's in a rural area? Do we remember? We've been talking about this week. Farmhouses. What kind of animals? Cows, horses, pigs. Anything else? Bark, bark. Chickens. And all kinds of other farm animals, right? Okay, so let's go to that page. There we go. There he is. And the rural area. Remember, this is where he starts getting tired. I'm on page 35. Okay? Now, when he pulled up in the rural area, how is that different than being in the city and in the town? Did he see more stars or less stars? Think about that. I'm sure that's an easy question. He saw more stars. Because was there anything blocking his view? No. So, we've talked about that this week. And now, they're asking you to share your knowledge. So, a description of the setting. Description of the setting. The country night. The country at night. So, tell me about the country at night. What does it look like in the picture? Are there any buildings? So we would put no buildings. And what does it look like to you? Wide open spaces. Big wide open spaces. So no buildings. No bright lights. So what does he see? No buildings. No bright lights. So why is this setting important? Why is that important? What can he see now? Lots and lots of what? Stars. Lots of stars. And just as we discussed earlier this week, why did he see lots and lots of those stars? You're right, because there aren't any other lights blocking the stars. So, why is this setting important? He can see. He can see all the stars. He can see all the stars. That's why it's important. Okay? All right. Now, what about the country in the daylight? What about the country in the daylight? Let's look back. On page 39, right here, on page 39, when they're driving back, it's when they're driving back to their house. It shows the daylight time. It's the morning. They've been out all night looking at stars. They slept a little bit, but probably not very much. But now they're in the daylight. and they're going home. And then what did they see? What did they see? Can you point to it? Do you see it? Do they see any stars? Maybe one? A really big yellow one? Ta-da! You got it! And what is that? The sun. A big bright yellow sun. So that's the star they saw during the daylight. So we go back to our graphic organizer. Describe the setting. So the setting in the daylight is bright. Is it bright? I think so. It's bright. And then, so you would say it's bright. And it's not bright with lights, right? It's bright with sunlight. Different kind of bright. Then why is the setting important? It shows what? How many stars? One big star. What's that star called? The sun. The sun. One big bright star. Very good. Okay. Now we've finished that graphic organizer, and we need to go on to one more graphic organizer. Okay? So, let's see. This one is on page 43. This one right here. The top says use text evidence. Use text evidence. Okay? What does it say? Using text evidence can help you describe the importance of the settings in a story. What's the setting again? The place or the time, the where and the when that the story takes place. Go back to the close read notes on the text evidence. Follow the directions to highlight the text. Use the text evidence you highlight to support your responses in the chart below. So let's talk about it. Outside the boy's house. Is this a good place to see stars? So, if you're standing outside your house, is that a good place to see stars? Do you think so? How is that different than standing outside your house to inside your house? How are those things both different? Or are they alike? Think about that for a second. What's better, looking at stars from inside your house or standing outside looking at stars from outside your house? Maybe you're in your front yard, or maybe you're in your backyard. Now, it doesn't say looking out your window. It just says inside your house. That's all I'm saying. Did you think outside? I think you're right. Now, it says, is this a good place to see stars outside the house? So we would put yes in that box. So right here, you're going to put yes, because outside is a good place to see stars. Now it says why? Why? Why do you think outside the boy's house is it a good place to see stars? Why do you think so? You tell me. Write what you think in that space. Because it's asking you why. It's not asking me why. It's asking you why. So why do you think that's a good place to see stars? I'll give you a couple seconds to write that down. I'll be thinking about that myself. Why is it good to be outside to see stars? Now, what are some reasons why it's good to be outside? Can you see the sky? Yeah, you can see the sky from outside. Can you see the sky from inside? No. So actually, I think that's kind of a silly question, don't you? Well, of course you can see stars from outside. Can you see them from inside? No, not unless you're looking out your window. And can you see very many stars when you're looking out your window? Not as many as you can see when you're looking outside, right? Okay. So whatever you put there is okay because that's your opinion. Remember, opinion is what you think, okay? All right, the town. Was the town a good place to see the stars? This is where you're going to put the answer. Is a town a good place to see the stars? It was kind of a what? An okay place. It was okay. So we might want to put okay there. It was okay. Now let's talk about why. That sounds a little bit more involved. Why was it okay to see stars in the town? Because you could what? There weren't very many what? Yep, tall buildings with lots and lots of what? Lights. Good. You're on the right page. So, why in that space would be there weren't many buildings. Spell buildings the best you can. Remember, I'm not worried about your spelling. Or if your mom or dad are there, they can help you. Not many bright what? Lights. Not like in here with this bright light. Okay. Then, now we have the country. That's what kind of area? Rural. Rural. That's that kind of area. It's a rural area. So, is this a good place to see stars? Do you remember? We're right here. Right here. Was that a good place to see stars in the country? Oh, this isn't rural. This is urban. I mean, suburb. These trees. This is so hard to make these videos because when you make a mistake, you look just silly. So, town would be what? Suburb. I'm thinking suburban. Now, the country is the what? Rule. That's the rule. It sounds like I'm saying rule, like follow the rules, but it's a different rule. So the country, of course they can see lots of stars in the country. Okay, why? Well, we've already discussed that, haven't we? Why was it so easy to see all those stars? You write that down. You should know all about that. Okay, let's talk about that. If you're a little confused still, that's fine. But why would it be important to be in a rural area, like on a farm, to look at all those stars? Would you see a whole bunch? Why? Because there's no what? Buildings. There's no buildings. And there's no what? Bright lights. Right? No buildings and no bright lights. Okay? So that's the why. Easy enough? You did it. You finished your first assignment for your first week in reading. Now, I want to ask you about writing, but we're going to do that on another video. Okay? All right. So, what does Miss Trees want you to do? While you're home, you should be what? Reading, reading, reading every night, 20 minutes. Or you can do it anytime during the day. I know you have a lot of time during the day. And your parents might want you to just sit in your room or behind the couch or under the table or wherever you want and read nice and quietly. Okay? Give your parents a break and do that for at least 20-30 minutes a day. Okay? Be nice and quiet. Find a quiet spot and read. Okay? Then tell your parents all about what you read about. Okay? All right. I'll see you on the next video. Love y'all. See? That's even backwards. But you know what I mean.